Dave Filoni is the head of Lucasfilm, and Dave Filoni was at D23. And guess what else? Dave Filoni, the man in the hat, just so happened to talk about Galaxy's Edge, which he calls Star Wars Land. He said a lot of things. That Dave Filoni, the head of Star Wars. And today we're going to play what he had to say at World Builders, which is a Disney Parks panel where Dave Filoni was. And it sounds to me like we can pretty much guarantee Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge definitely moving to a celebrate Luke, Leia, Han, and the rest of them and get away from, well, Rey and Kylo and those.
You know, I'm always excited about the future of Star Wars. It's so, you know, I've told so many stories. George and I made over, I think, 100.
Who is this man on the left who is copying my style? I like him.
Episodes of Clone Wars alone, and he showed how you could do. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot. And he showed how you could tell almost any kind of story in Star Wars, not just what he'd done in the films. He was always experimenting and pushing the limits and say, what about this? What about this? He's never afraid to experiment and to attempt to do things. And a lot of things where you're like, we can't possibly do that. And he's like, right, but let's just see if we can. And that attitude, you recognize, like when you watch Walt Disney, you know, and I wonder how much that influenced George, the way he thinks, when he saw how an imagination can overcome any obstacles. So, you know, the park is something that, and we talk about it, should evolve, you know, and Star.
Pay attention to that. He just said the park is something that should evolve. Okay.
Star Wars Land should evolve like that as well.
He just said Star Wars Land should evolve.
When you see what people are interested in, we have several different generations of Star Wars fans, right? So we have the original trilogy fans, prequel trilogy fans, sequel trilogy fans, Clone Wars fans, expanded universe fans. They all have different interests.
Wait a minute. Expanded universe fans. The expanded universe is not, that's pre-Disney. And we're talking about Disney parks. We're talking about Galaxy's Edge, which he's calling Star Wars Land. Hang on. I'm actually going to back this up. It's unusual to do this, but I'm going to back it up just so you all can hear that again.
You know, and Star Wars Land should evolve like that as well. When you see what people are interested in, we have several different generations of Star Wars fans, right? So we have the original trilogy fans, prequel trilogy fans, sequel trilogy fans, Clone Wars fans, expanded universe fans. They all have different interests, and I always look at like how we're going to serve all these different interests, and most importantly, how do we bring them all together because they have this common love of Star Wars. And I think the park is a great place to do that. And so, you know, we'll update things. We bring new characters in. We make, you know, rides different. I go on them, and
we make rides different. Mando, yeah, but Ron, I'm starting to wonder: is Rise of the Resistance about to be changed?
I don't know. It was really nice of him to mention the two sequel trilogy fans. So that was throw those two people in there. I had said, you know, my idea, if they, and this was a long time ago, this is all the way back when I thought, man, they could save the Halcyon, the Star Wars.
When
hotel.
You were but a wee, Ron, with the optimism, a sparkle in your eyes.
I mean, I think if they would have changed or had it this way from the beginning, obviously they were way off the mark. But if they would have had the Star Wars Hotel be a celebration of the honeymoon of Han and Leia, and then you go on there and you meet C-3PO and R2-D2, Han, Leia, Luke, and the original trilogy characters. You go to Galaxy's Edge, Batuu, and that's where they're going to have their honeymoon, whatever. And Rise was Rise of the First Order, or like you're seeing, or I don't know, the attempt of the Empire to restructure itself or something like that. It had nothing to do with Finn or Poe or whatever. Yeah, it could have been. Galaxy's Edge could have been something. It's a travesty if you were to go in the same day to Diagon Alley over at Universal, and then go to Galaxy's Edge over at Hollywood Studios. You would see so much the difference, especially, let's say that you're a fan of both franchises of Harry Potter and Star Wars. I'm not even a Harry Potter fan. When I go to Diagon Alley, I feel immersed in the world of Harry Potter that has been seen in the movies. When I go to Galaxy's Edge, I feel like I'm, I don't know, in some African or Middle Eastern nation that's not, it has nothing to do with Star Wars. It just, other than when you see the Millennium Falcon there and you're like, what is the Millennium Falcon doing in a place I've never seen it in any of the movies? It has nothing to do with anything that a fan has seen in the movies. And it's,
well, this was Ryan Johnson and Kiri Hart, at the time, the head of Lucasfilm Story Group. This was their idea. This is not in any of the movies. There's nothing to do with this except that this was Ryan Johnson, the director for Last Jedi, his idea for a theme park area. And they dictated to Disney Imagineering what they would do.
Well, that's dumb.
Yeah.
It's not a smart decision. But I will say this. I don't know how you change it from what it is. Okay. I will say this. They could make it better by doing one simple thing. Obviously, you want to bring in characters from the original trilogy. But I would say if you could somehow have like 50 actors a day wandering around there in actual Star Wars costumes, some of them being like aliens. If you went into the cantina and the cantina band was playing, like the original cantina band, not the DJ that used to be the Star Tours guy,
which this is his movement the entire time.
And all right, the cantina band, and then when you're in there, you see at least 7-8 creatures that are not humans. It just, nothing of it right now feels like Star Wars. And what made Star Wars weekends so great is they would bring in volunteers from the 501st, and there was so many different Star Wars characters. The Grimoire Guards would walk around. You could have pictures of the Grimoire Guards. You could have pictures with Darth Maul. Just so, like, I just remember Star Wars weekends feeling so much more cool than Star Wars Galaxy's Edge ever has. And that, to me, when you spend literally billions of dollars and you get rid of something great to replace it with something that is junk, that's a disaster.
Let's go back to the video with Dave Filoni and let him finish out. And then, Erica, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. But it sounds to me like, because these things are not mistakes, they don't plan to put people on stages to say these sorts of things unless it's forecasting something. I really think that they don't have a choice, but they can't promote changing Star Wars at the parks in the way that they would the other stuff, because then they'll get hit with negative articles from people saying, you caved into the toxic fandom. You gave them what they want. Here's more, Dave.
And now that'll happen, which is, selfishly really amazing. So, and I'm sure, it's like you draw something and then you show up at the park and then it's there. And it just is there. It walks up and talks to you. And it's like very surreal. Even though I have that experience.
That has never happened.
When it's here, and again, you're surrounded by people that are just getting to experience that because they aren't on movie sets. It's very special. And so I think we have to be thinking of, I'm nostalgic for Star Wars. How do we maintain its past? But
I'm nostalgic for Star Wars. There's no nostalgia currently in modern, as he calls it, Star Wars land. Erica, I think they're ready to drop the nonsense and go back to the Star Wars that drives people to attend the parks. I think Luke, Leia, and Han are on the way to Galaxy's Edge at both coasts, the domestic Disney parks. Your thoughts?
That's really bittersweet. I have a family member who worked really hard on this project, both of them. And at the point that they were assigned this project, they were very excited. Mm-hmm. But at that point, it was early on that...
Was that phase one, Erica, when they were planning the whole thing?
They were going to do the original, and they were so excited because this family member of mine is just really crazy for Star Wars. And now that they're not with the company, and if they're going to go, it really sucks. I mean, it's good for the company, good for the fans. It's just bittersweet for our family because,
the original designs were so cool for this land, what they were going to do.
And I remember the excitement. I remember being told, hush, don't you tell anybody, we'll kill you. No, just kidding. But I hope so. I hope they change course for the sake of the fans, and I know at least a few other family members, if they go in that direction, will definitely go back at least to Hollywood studios to check it out, to see the changes. I can't promise that my family member who worked behind
I expect reskins, Erica. I don't think they're going to spend the money to actually like completely redo this, but I think they're going to reskin things, put Luke, Leia, and Han, original timeline, drop Obi-Wan, the Ewan McGregor version somewhere in there on a different space to honor the prequels. But spending more money at this point, I mean, it's kind of a dead franchise. So all they can do is weigh into the nostalgia of what people still love.
And I did expect, because in the concept art and the whole buzz years ago was you were going to see all of these, like, residents of that. I'm not a Star Wars guru, so you have to excuse my ignorance here, but I expected
the droids, the aliens, all the,
You're supposed to be able to ride on top of a bantha.
That you hear about and see in the stories. And we've, even from day one, it's, we never got that interaction. And it would be nice to go to the land, even though kind of like with Ron, when he goes to Harry Potter land, but he's not a Harry Potter fan, but he feels immersed. It would be nice for me to feel that way going into Galaxy's Edge, because for me, I'm a Harry Potter fan, but I'm not really a crazy Star Wars fan. So I would like that experience to feel immersed. And maybe that would draw me into like the stories. It would draw me into really doing a deep dive into that world, into that niche,
Ron, you want to tell us about how Universal got it right as we wrap this conversation up, how they managed to get the Harry Potter lands so on point, even with Epic Universe being in an area that's not traditionally often thought of when you're considering Harry Potter with Paris.
Well, they first of all, they listen to fans. They take into account feedback. They a huge part of this is tell me your name, the author,
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, yeah, sorry. J.K. Rowling was given like carte blanche input, and basically she put her foot down with Disney when there was an offering there where Disney said, well, I mean, obviously, Imagineering and Disney's going to have the final say. And she just said, nope, I'm not doing that. And a lot of people, I don't think know that Disney actually had the first opportunity to have Harry Potter lands. But Rowling said no. She said, if I'm going to do anything, I have to have the final say. So Rowling herself has the final say. She goes to these lands, she checks them over, she makes sure everything is exactly the way it would be presented from the stories from the movies. The actors have been to these lands and they said, this looks actually more real than our sets. The first time that my wife walked in, she said, wait, is this where they filmed the movie? Because they are like, it's that real. Diagon Alley, and I haven't even gotten to go into Ministry yet. I've been in the land, but I haven't been in the ride. Everything that they have done has been so on point for fulfilling what the fans want, as far as feeling like you've walked into the movie. And that is where they got it right with Harry Potter. They had this really weird idea at Disney. Well, fans would like to create something adjacent to Star Wars, but not actually feel like they've been in the movie. And I don't know where they got that idea from. I don't know how that idea didn't eventually just get shut down. Like, that's what's so weird is like this idea where they talked about, well, we want fans to be able to create their own Star Wars story. Like, they're in the galaxy, they're in the universe, but they're nothing to do with anything that they've ever seen on the screen. And I'm like, how did that idea pass all the way up the chain and get approved all the way up the chain? It's everybody thought that was like, what when they were doing that, why didn't they send out surveys to guests and say, hey, guests, what do you think of this idea? Literally send out, like, anybody that's been a fan of Star Wars, people that they know have attended Star Wars events and rallies. They should have sent something out to all those people and said, what would you like to see in a Star Wars land? For some reason, it seems like for the most part, over the last 10 to 15, maybe 20 years, Disney is not taking guest ideas into consideration for what the guests literally are asking for, and or they're looking at it and they're doing the opposite. It's it's just bizarro world to me for the company that, for the first 80 to 90 years of their history, where most of the stuff was really, really good, or if they had off days or off years, they would like backtrack and fix it really quick. I've just never seen, to me, as a fan of what has been Disney in the past, them going downhill as fast as they are, and they seem to continue speed racing towards that direction. It's just bizarre to me, and that's what I saw with this D23. For me, most of it was like they're just not fixing anything.
Yeah, and the thing about it is too, so they can only tell us the way they've done here with Dave Filoni. They can't come out and make an announcement, because if they make an announcement, again, they'll get hit with tons of negative press, and they'll have to address the idea that the sequel trilogy is super unpopular. So the way they do it is they don't come out like they do all the other announcements. They just have Dave Filoni on a panel slip in. Yeah, we got to evolve this thing. There's a nostalgia. Yeah, there's a nostalgia for a time when Star Wars did not suck.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.